All right, there you go. And let me just, okay, so that's that complete. Okay. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, so hey everyone, welcome to today's presentation or fireside chat. I am really excited to introduce to you someone that I've known for, I think it's almost 5 years already. I have seen her grow, exponentially. She's done some really amazing work with some really cool brands. And she's had this really interesting trajectory that I actually speak about inside our community. So before we go and dive deep into these things, I want to go ahead and introduce Christa Nichols. Christa, if you'd like, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. So I am just a farm wife and a mom from Iowa. I work from my home office in the middle of the cornfields where we have 4 goats and a potbelly pig and just a random assortment of just farm type stuff. And yet somehow I run a sales copywriting agency and train sales copywriters.
I love that. I love that introduction. Basically, if you basically want to say if you can do it, anybody can, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. So one of the things that I talk about inside the community, it's kind of like the trajectory of an online marketing entrepreneur. So whether you're um, a marketing agency, whether you're a copywriter, social media manager, whatever it is, if you service marketing stuff to people B2B, there's a certain success trajectory that I don't believe a lot of people talk about. And because a lot of times in this online entrepreneurial world, we begin at the personal brand side. So, like how to create content so that you can grow your audience, so that then you can generate leads, or how to run ads into a lead magnet or a freebie, and then that way you can generate leads. My take on this is that if you're a service-based business, it's a very different business model from what you kind of see online, right? Like basically, it's not a personal brand. We're not influencers. We're not really creators. We're service providers. We provide a service. So, can you kind of start at the very beginning, or actually start at the middle? Let's start at the middle. How did you go from not have, or playing around with this, or not playing around with it, but inconsistency, to actually having what you would consider a business, right? Like what were the 2 or 3 key things that you needed to do in order to get to a point where you could rely in your business as an actual financial resource for your family?
Yeah. So for me, it was relationships when I had built a community and a network where I let people in to see what I could do and proof of concept, proof that what I could do could get results, which is the second thing. Like it's, you reach a level of skill set, a level of expertise where you're able to just kind of broadcast the results that you have and referrals that then generates referrals. So relationships that allow people to see your results that then generates referrals that come back to you. Not that all of my clients have come through referrals at all, but it definitely has a compounding effect as you grow and have more people enter your sphere. It makes a difference.
Got it. So number one is creating your network. Number two, obviously, walking the talk and being able to provide results. And then number three is basically using that network that you're nurturing, that you're building, to generate referrals and word of mouth. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
got it. Would you say that the trajectory of the growth of your business followed something a bit different than what is actually being taught around in the online space in terms of like post on social media and do this and the lead magnets and the funnels and all of that stuff? And why do you think, if it is different, why do you think it's been different for you as an online service based business? And if it's not different, can you give us some maybe strategic um, resources or techniques to actually be successful there?
Yeah. So my trajectory really was very different from what most copywriters are taught. For one thing, I didn't know any other copywriters. I became a copywriter kind of by accident. And I hung out with a lot of agency owners and social media managers and other digital marketing experts. And in that way, I began to promote my services. I just copied whatever they were doing. I wasn't sending cold DMs or emails. I've never done that. I wasn't putting up ads and driving to a lead magnet. Also, really didn't do that. And I never created a profile on Upwork or Fiverr or anything like that. I basically just went out there and built relationships with people, offered help and value where I could, especially like in Facebook groups and within the communities that I was involved in, and just showed up. I showed up where the people were and gave value, and then made those connections as far as like connect the dots, like, oh, you like what I said there, actually I offer this as a professional service. So it was very different, and now that I teach and train copywriters, I don't recommend the cold outreach at all, really. And I don't recommend freelancer sites. It's just not a sustainable way unless you love playing the numbers game. And if you love playing the numbers game, by all means, knock yourself out. And when you want to remove yourself a little bit more from that, then by all means, figure out what works for you, fire up your funnel and run your lead gen that way if you want to. But in the very beginning, I didn't spend a dime on any of that. And I didn't knock myself out trying to get people's attention who had no idea who I was and no interest in what I was doing.
Got it. Would you also say, because like for me at the very beginning, like I have these in my head, like I try to compartmentalize like levels, right? Like so level one for me, or the starter point, I did Facebook groups for a while, and I kind of did the same thing. Like I created a network, but when I talk to marketers and in my mentorship programs, I really start with, you have to really hone your skills to a point where you're confident enough to
Mhm.
actually go out there and sell, right? I'm a big advocate for cold outreach, sales, and just sales numbers games and all that stuff. So like we have a different approach here,
Mhm.
but I do think that in the core of everything is really honing your skill sets, because like if you can't provide results, you're not going to get the referrals, right? And you're not going to be able to establish yourself as someone that can actually do the thing. And I think it's an improvement of confidence that you need to have, whether you're going to take it the very aggressive, let's call it the aggressive route of sales and numbers and all that stuff, or your approach. And I'm really interested in kind of like, if you can spend some time giving us kind of like an overview of, like, let's say we have, again, I told you, we have copywriters who are maybe just starting to even think about becoming copywriters. We have copywriters who have been doing this for a while, and we have copywriters that are generating 5 figures a month already. So, would you mind kind of like sharing with us your growth framework? How do you like teach them to actually generate leads or get clients?
Mhm. Well, the first thing that you have to do is you have to get clarity. If you try to go out there, launch your services, but you have no idea how to talk about what you do, who you're trying to market to, who your ideal client is, what services you offer, or what rates you want to charge, you're going to go out there and all you're going to bring with you is confusion. And confusion is catching, but so is confidence. Just like you said, I think confidence is huge. So the first thing that I take my writers through is a process that helps them get clear on those core elements so that when they begin to reach out to people, they can be there with confidence, like, this is what I offer, this is who I serve, this is what I charge, and baseline stuff, so that they're not just feeling like they're throwing themselves out there and not sure what's going to happen or not sure what's going to come out of their mouth. Like, that just is like soul shriveling, you know what I mean? Like, when you feel like you don't know what to say, you don't know how to approach someone, it's terrifying. So that's the first thing that I lead them through. And then we focus on really dialing in on what type of results you can get. What type of copy do you want to write? Let's figure out what you want your services to be, and then let's get really good at that. So I encourage them to either niche down into a specific industry where maybe they have background knowledge in dentistry or in supplements, or maybe they're just really, really interested in fitness. So I encourage them to niche down or specialize. So choose a type of copy to put your focus on. So maybe you write for several different industries, but your specialty is sales funnels, or your specialty is email sequences. By narrowing your focus like that, you're able to put more time and attention and focus into growing your skill set and becoming an expert in those. Whereas if you were trying to offer all the services to all the people, you would never be able to really get that good at what you were doing, not fast enough anyway, to stand above the competition and really begin to develop a reputation as somebody who can get results for what you say you can do. So that's like the second level. We work really hard on narrowing that in. Then we break down the frameworks, like, what is copy? Why does it work? Here are the 5 core things that have to be present. Here's what you need to go after and know about the target audience. Here's how to determine whether it's working or not, how to read the data, how to read people's buying decisions and what they're thinking and feeling, how to do research about what they've tried before so that you can position the offer as something different, unique, unusual, party of one. So it really is about like helping them create the path that they want, and then giving them the skills and the tools to elevate and elevate and elevate. Because for me, I struggled until I had that confidence. I struggled with, feeling worthy to show up on discovery calls and feeling like, well, they could just go pick any other copywriter. And it really was, until I realized exactly what it took to get results and how I could recreate it again and again and again. I struggled with showing up on discovery calls with confidence. But once I did, I closed 80% of my discovery calls, because either they had the budget or they didn't. If they didn't have the budget, they wouldn't sign. If they did, they would move heaven and earth.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm writing notes. So if you see me like right here, like I'm just writing notes. So first and foremost, I love the fact that you have data sets, like sales data points. And I talk about this all the time. Like, do you truly know your numbers from a sales perspective, right? And I love the fact that you understand that you have an 80% conversion in your sales calls, because that tells me that you have really, like you dive into your business and you actually analyze the success and you take into consideration numbers, right? So with that being said, I got a couple of questions for you. I also love the fact that at the beginning of your framework, on step 2, you actually kind of try to peel the layers of like, what results can you actually get? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times, I'm very real. Like, a lot of times we come into these into these businesses thinking that we're going to make like 7 figures a month, and like we are going to charge like $5,000 for, who knows what, like, yes, like an email. Exactly.
I'm going to sneeze on this piece of paper for you.
Yes. And I'm like, so that is mind-boggling to me. Another train of thought or school of thought is you charge what you're worth, and I'm you got to be very careful with that, because I don't know. In my point of view, is you charge what the market says you can charge, right? And so I really love that you peel those layers of like, what actual results can you get? So in the spirit of that, from a copywriting industry, like an industry expert, right? Because I'm not a copywriter, so I really don't know. Um, what are the real world expectations? Like, what can you actually expect for a copywriter that's just starting versus a copywriter that's maybe further along the lines, and then a copywriter that is at the peak of their business? What are some numbers that they can expect, like real, like candidly?
Sure. As far as how much they can charge or how much
Yes,
they
as
can
far as
charge
much
for
as
it.
they, yeah.
Yeah. So I always recommend that people start with things that are less sales related just in the beginning to really get the feel for a client's voice, who they're marketing to, what their unique, brand voice little quirks are. Because once you launch into sales, there are different expectations attached to that. Like you said, there's all kinds of expectations from the client on your side, on their, other service provider sides. And so you really want to nail that basic stuff for the client before you start getting into sales. When you can consistently produce profitable results for your clients, the game changes. And that's when you can actually go in and set the expectations. A lot of clients don't know what they don't know. They don't understand what kind of results they can reasonably expect. They don't know what triggers to look for. And a lot of copywriters don't know either. And so I'm always really careful to train my certified writers on how to read the data, how to read the analytics, because when you know what's working and when you can see what's not and what to change, that puts you on a level, it raises you from service provider contractor to marketing partner. Because without you, they might not know that. And it's easy for them to come to you and say it's not working. It's you broke it. It's your fault. You fix it. But if you know how to read that data, you can say actually stats are showing that the ads are working. It's something is your button's not working on your landing page, or your it's going all the way through the funnel. You've got good conversion rates on the funnel, but when they're hitting the sales calls, they're not buying. Guess what? I'm not in charge of your sales calls. So let's, maybe I could take a look at the sales scripts that your callers are using and let's see where that breakdown is. So that's a completely different ballgame. But as an entry level, what I like to tell my very beginners is I want you to think about some benchmark goals. Think about what you would like to be earning at the end of 90 days from now. And then let's think about what you want to be earning 6 months from now, and then 1 year from now. And what we're going to do is we're going to set a baseline rate for right now. And we're going to anchor it in how long you think it will take you to write the different projects that you want to write. But we don't charge hourly and we don't charge per word because that punishes people who are good. And I'm not all about that. Why should you earn less if you can say what needs to be said in fewer words or in less time? You should not be punished for that. So we're going to choose a rate per project or a retainer rate if it's recurring that you can start with right now as your baseline rate that will take care of the immediate needs that you have as you transition into doing this full time in a reasonable way. And as we go and we watch your results and we see how that's changing and up leveling, then we'll look at it again. It's not a forever rate. We'll raise your rates. Then we'll raise your rates. And as your results improve, we will continue to raise your rates. I always say your rates depend on your results. Like that is the determining factor for when you can raise your rates. Because there is a perception of value there. If you're charging rock bottom prices, and you can get results for clients, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're attracting the wrong kind of clients, but you're also locking yourself into this like horrible cycle of having to take on way more projects than you really want to just to pay the bills when you could be getting even better results for the clients you do have if you were just charging more and taking back more of your time to be able to really focus in and do your very best work for fewer clients. So it's very nuanced, it's very multi-layered, and it's not talked about very much. Like there's a lot of out there like, well, how much per hour? Or how much do you charge per word? No, I don't do that. Like that's not a good way to measure the value of a piece of work at all. So that's kind of how I approach it. We go in
Yeah.
stages. beginning copywriters can expect to make a couple thousand a month if they're, landing a couple email sequences, doing some blogging, getting some ad copy done. As they up level, they'll probably begin to start looking at, if they're into direct response, like launch packages where you've got multiple email sequences plus ad copy, video scripts, and funnels. And that can be, mid to high five figures for a launch package, depending on how many pieces they need and what they're
Yeah.
using for their sales vehicles. But that comes with proven results and time tested frameworks and a lot of, your reputation following you around and backing
Yeah.
you up.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, um, so by day, for the last couple of years, I've been a fractional marketing director. And so I've had to hire a lot of copywriters. And one of the things that I think that, so I'm going to take this to the enterprise level kind of corporate situation for a second. We, marketing directors or like decision makers for companies, we have this situation where, you have like the SEO content
Mhm.
writer. And sometimes we do go by per the word or whatever. Or we have a contractor that charges per the hour. And or per project. It could be a per project basis, or it could be a retainer. So there's all these different nuances or these different types of ways to actually charge. And as a decision maker, like in the marketing space, like we are familiar with these things. When I talk to the women that I mentor, I really like the launch package situation. And I really like when you are able to kind of provide support in the entire marketing ecosystem versus just the one thing, right? Versus just
Mhm.
like SEO, whatever, right? And if you are a copywriter that creates, that writes content for like SEO optimization and stuff like that, it's nice to be able to have someone that is also strategically like strong when it comes to strategy for the SEO, and like can actually provide like an SEO strategy plus the copy plus the content and stuff like that. So, and I think that before, like I would say like maybe 2 or 3 years ago even, and way further than down that, in the past, it was nice to have that per word situation, and you would hire a lot of people that would charge, per the word. But I think that now, especially with the rise of AI, and we'll talk about AI in the later in this hour, but with the rise of AI and just kind of like how the economy has shifted in the last couple of years, I think that in order for you to stand out as any type of marketer, whether you're a copywriter or whatever, it's really important that you bring some strategic strength into your services and whatever that looks like. How does a copywriter stand out aside from results? How does
Hmm.
a copywriter stand out in the market?
So I find that on the very base level, initial level, it's all in the questions that you ask the prospect. So it's all in what you say on the discovery call and what you ask them, because I have a very specific set of questions when I'm on a sales call, that are engineered to get me the information I need to be able to tell if this is going to be a good client for me, but also to create a true perception of like what working with me would be like. So a lot of times a copywriter will just let the client do all of the asking and they'll just answer the questions. But I prefer to, yes, I want them to ask me questions, but I definitely sneak some very strategic ones in there, because there are certain things that you can ask a client that immediately tells them you're on a different level. So anytime you ask them, like you said, strategy is super important. That immediately makes the eyebrows go up, like, here's someone who speaks my language. Especially like I've worked with a lot of really high level marketers. And so anytime that you can mention the numbers and the data, anytime you can ask them, okay, so what exactly is your target cost per acquisition? That is surprising to them, because copywriters don't generally ask that. It's not really a question that copywriters ask, but it should be, right? It should be, because that's our goal, is working them towards lowering that cost per acquisition, raising that conversion rate. And it's not just about the words, it's about the big picture, like how it all fits together. So yeah, it really is strategic. That's what I do. There are calls that I know, I can tell by the look on their face that this call just closed because I asked a very strategic question, and now they're, they can't handle the idea of working with another copywriter because they haven't come across one that has ever asked them this question before. So yeah, the more you can dive into the strategy and asking them the strategic questions that show you understand what's going on behind the scenes. Like, it's one thing to be a good writer, but to really be high level direct sales, you have to understand marketing too. You have to write like a marketer. You have to write like somebody who understands conversion. And so that's a big deal for them, because they don't get that very much. They don't come across that very much.
Love that. So you mentioned earlier something about the peak, or the top elevation of a copywriter. Um, in your point of view, what does that look like? What is the peak, like in terms of career, in terms of what is a top tier copywriting business look like? Is it in the shape of a copywriting agency? Is it in the shape of like, and what does that look like exactly to you?
I think it depends on what you want. In general, in the industry, you've got the agoras and the big agencies that charge big time for at the enterprise level. You've got the, single copywriters that charge big time per project. And it just depends. Are you somebody who wants to run an agency? You can definitely do that. You'll need systems and processes for training writers, and you'll need systems and processes to generate leads and outreach and stuff like that. Maybe you're just like a lone wolf. You like to take on what projects you want to take on. You go looking for a certain type of client. And if you can get them results every single time, you can pretty much name your rate. So it just depends on who is in charge of the business, what they want, what they're gifted in, and what kind of lifestyle they want to lead. So for me, I'm probably never going to have a huge agency because I don't like managing employees that much. I don't like having, I don't know, I like working with people one on one. I like training writers too much to really dive all in on the high ticket agency model, because I won't give that up. So and so yeah, it depends on what you want to do, what your gifts and skill sets are. If you have a bent towards scaling businesses, an agency model would probably be really good for you. If you like working with a team, if you like managing employees, if you're strong with SOPs and systems and processes, that could be a really good fit for you. If you just really like flexibility and you like, creativity, you like to work with very specific type of client, you want to take projects when you take projects and not when you don't want to, then you're probably looking at being more like a high ticket service provider where you set the pace and your business isn't setting the pace, you're setting the pace. And, then you're pursuing business instead of working to manage a business, you're working to manage your workflow.
So I have a couple more questions on that growth situation. Um, so I'm gonna give you kind of like a story. I One of the things that I wish I would have done better, as I started growing my business, was like really understand my cost to run the business, and like my employees and the contractors, and even down to how I paid myself, and getting an accountant earlier on. I wish I also had fixed my credit and be able to tap into business credit and all of the things, right? So from a copywriting perspective, I had one person who actually sparked this whole situation here, this fireside chat today. She is an excellent copywriter. She has generated millions of dollars in campaigns, but she for some reason is really bad at keeping up with the business numbers. Like, like how much should I charge? How much is too much. How do I package these prices? How do I how do I set up my business itself? So what are some of the, maybe some tips that you can give her in terms of like, because one thing is being an amazing copywriter, and another thing is being an amazing business owner, and like really kind of like meshing it all together and having something successful. Like, can you share some, maybe like some tips on that? Like, what has worked for you as a business owner whose practice is copywriting, to like really set the foundations up to have a reliable business?
Yeah, so we run pretty lean over here. We're an S corp, so we get paid from our business. Our business is its own entity, which is great. It's a great tax protection, but also, great for managing that. We also have a very small team, so we're not paying out huge amounts in terms of team members at this point. I do recommend having a CPA, and not just any CPA. You need one that understands entrepreneurship and digital service providing type things, because you'll have different tax deductions. You'll have different ways of arranging it so that you're not carrying so much of the burden of the tax for your business. But I can totally relate. Like, I do this because I love it and I'm good at it. And I'm not a business professional by any means, but it is a necessary thing. So if you need to find somebody to come alongside you who is more like that, then find that person. And whether it's in the beginning, you're trading services, they're helping you get things straightened out, you're helping them market, and then it merges into more of like a paid service provider or whatever, depending on your budget. That's what those types of professionals are gifted in. And I'm not. So I know that I'm going to come out way ahead by paying somebody to help me with that, instead of trying to figure it out. And also time wise, like, I don't have time to figure all of that out. I have no desire to figure all of that out. So I'm going to leverage the people in my network who are experts in those ways to help me do that, because it's buying back my time so that I can do what I do the best and keep generating income from that point of view.
Yeah, yeah. I know for me specifically, like it was hard at first because I started this business out of necessity. Like I became an entrepreneur out of necessity. Like I had to pay bills, I had to hurry up, and sometimes like if I could go back in time, instead of spending money on a coach at first, I think, but before I get into that, I really like that when you share the two parts of your framework, right? Like the first one, uh, you know, was kind of like niching down and all that stuff, but then also understanding like the 90 days projections, like how much should you expect to be making, or do you want to, or do you need to, like in order to sustain the lifestyle. You mentioned briefly something about like transitioning into this full time, so I'm assuming you recommend to have something on the side or to keep your 9 to 5 while you're trying to figure this here, or
I I will help someone who needs help and wants to invest in the programs no matter where they're at. But it makes me nervous for them if I have
yeah,
someone come to me and be like, I have to make $10,000 today.
yeah,
It's not reasonable to expect. So yeah, I do feel better for them on their behalf if they can build a runway.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
I was in your same shoes. Like, I started my business out of necessity. Guess what? Sometimes having to leap into action is really the motivation that you need.
yeah.
Um, but if I can save someone from going through the stress of that, I mean, that was insanely stressful. It was not good for my health or my sanity.
Yes, yes,
And if I
yes,
can help save someone from that by helping them build a runway so that
yeah,
it's less stressful and more doable, but still by saving time and getting there faster by leveraging the systems and processes that I have, then I'm happy to do that.
yeah, yeah. So with that being said, like for her scenario specifically, I almost feel like, and so there's times to invest in things. I feel like there's seasons of investments, right? So like
Mhm.
maybe this season I'm going to invest in a business coach to kind of like, because I'm ready to scale, but maybe it's not and there's another season where you do get a CPA to kind of give you a strategy. What I
Mhm.
like about the 90 days, 6 months, and 12 months situation that you mentioned earlier is that if you start out uh, with a business plan or a financial plan, right? Like, this is how much I'm supposed to make in the next 90 days. This is how much I'm supposed to make in the next 6 months. You can provide that information to a CPA or somebody
Yeah.
that, who is more, whose job is that to kind of like help you, create those projections and say, okay, well, Emily, if you're going to make, $12,000 in the next 90 days, and that's what you need to do, this is what my recommendation is once you hit that goal. And then
Mhm.
assuming that you have steady clients and stuff like that. So, for me, I think that there's something to be said about planning your projections, with that 90-day, 6 month, 12-month situation. Um, I wanted to kind of like switch gears and start talking about AI
Mhm.
and copywriting. So I'm pretty sure you've heard about this. You've been listening. But what are
I am
your
breathing.
what is your take on AI and copywriters? Like, how do yeah, tell me all the things.
Yeah. So I know that it was a big deal when it first dropped. There's always going to be an element of hesitance, hesitancy, and kind of when something new hits, there's always that little bit of like, what is this going to do to my career? But every time there's been a development in technology, we really need to look at it as an opportunity. Okay, because not only can we use AI to help make our work faster, easier, more in depth, but our clients recognize that it's a thing. It's not a mystery to them. They know they could go to AI and it could spit out something for them. Yet they're still wanting someone who can help them filter through that. There are always going to be a certain amount of clients who have no desire to learn AI and they just want to trust their marketing to a person. And so some of it is shifting like towards a higher level of client just because, yes, the beginner startups, they're going to immediately be drawn to AI because it's being touted as the quick and easy fix. Now, time will tell how those results end up and how that, rebounds back in towards, having a real person with eyeballs and a, brain looking at it. But AI is very powerful and there's a lot of benefits to learning it, at least at a basic level, so that you can at least plug it in as a research partner or as an ideator. I use it a lot for, hey, give me 10 subject lines for this email. I'll drop the email in there and it'll spit some out. And I hardly ever choose one word for word, but I'll be like, oh, I like that word. And combined with this hook over here,
Yeah.
cool. So it's like I'm expanding my brain options, but faster than if
Yeah.
I was sitting there with a pencil and a piece of
So
paper.
for me, okay, so I have a question for me. So I literally, like, this happened to me this last week, like end of that last week. One of my clients, so Giving Tuesday's coming next week, and one of my clients is a school that has a nonprofit right next to it or whatever. Like, they're working together, right?
Mhm.
And we like the goal is to generate $100,000 by the end of December. So I have to kind of figure out what is the mix here. What is the
Mhm.
strategy to get to that point? And I said, you know what? Let's leverage Giving Tuesday, but and then market to kind of like donors and, like, philanthropic organizations to donate to the nonprofit, and like kind of use the nonprofit as kind of like the bucket where the $100,000 is coming in. I am not a nonprofit marketer, but I need someone to kind of write this email campaign to do an outreach. I have the list. I created a list for sponsors and philanthropic
Mhm.
organizations. And I said to her, okay, I got the list, but we need to hire someone ASAP because we need to get this out the door. The first thing she said to me on Slack was AI, smiley face, right? So
Yeah.
so from somebody, like, for me in that scenario, what do you think, what should I have responded? I mean, I have my own response. I already sold her on the copywriter, but like, what should be the response on that?
I would say when we're talking about something like Giving Tuesday, which is a very emotionally charged thing for a lot of people, people are feeling generous, they're feeling kind, they're feeling compassionate. This is not the kind of campaign that, you know, AI can really generate that connective type of emotional marketing that you need in order to grab people's attention and funnel their attention. These are people who have money, people who want to give their money away. And so what you need to do is you need to grab their attention to focus on you. And that requires an emotional impact that many times AI just cannot generate because they're not boots on the ground watching that interaction with the market in real time.
I agree. I think that AI, like you said, it's a great ideation tool, but I don't think we're there yet to be able to just kind of give away the keys to the kingdom to these tools, especially because there needs to be some type of human connection across the board. And I think that the best marketing strategies and efforts have that human approach at the forefront. And if we take that away, I don't think it's going to work. So to me, it's a great tool. It's becoming really interesting to see how decision makers are trying to kind of like replace certain things. And I think and if somebody's listening to this video that is like a tech startup or a startup like that is funded, because that's part of my audience too, it's really we want to caution these kinds of thoughts too. Like there's always gonna we need to have that human approach to just kind of like take that category or take the industry in a certain way and make it unique. Um so I wanted to go back to the sales calls questions. These sales calls questions that you asked during the discovery calls, you mentioned that you have a set of them. Do you mind sharing them with us?
Sure. Sure. So it's something that I teach inside my Wordy Mama Copywriting Academy. I actually teach my whole discovery call process, plug and play. But I ask them before I even get on a call with them, I have a pre-qualification form. So they can't book the call unless they fill it out. And that's where I ask them how much revenue they're pushing. I ask them about their goals for this, what types of copy they need, obviously. And I make them choose from a list of copy that I provide, because otherwise you get the wild cards throwing. So like, I need blog articles. Well, you're barking up the wrong tree on that one for me anyway. I ask them whether or not we'll be using a proven sales funnel. So all these little clues that tell me like, how ready are they? How far back in the process do we need to go? Do they have assets that are working right now and we're just tweaking and optimizing? Maybe writing a few new video scripts to test and split test. Or are we starting from nothing with no idea how it's going to go? That helps me know like what kind of expectations do I need to start setting immediately, like even before I work with them. It also tells me whether or not they're going to be able to afford my services. So depending on how much income they're pushing right now yearly, it's when I ask them, what are your goals for this over the next 12 months? And it's always big. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're going to make $2 million. Like, okay, how much income are you generating? And I don't ask specifically. I give them ranges, and if it's coming in the low six figures, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go with a slightly different strategy for you so that we can work our way up to that. So there's a certain level of information that I want to go into the call with. That's super helpful for me to know how to frame the call. So when we hop on, I ask them to tell me about what they're marketing right now. I want to know like, what challenges are you facing? What needs do you have? And I ask them what your time frame is, because I want to know right away, like, are we under a super heavy deadline? That gives me information on how to write the proposal. It also tells me how they are as far as expectations. I ask them about their budget. Do you have a marketing budget that you'd like to stay within? That helps me know how to create the proposal within that. Or if we break it up into sections or whatever. But the questions that I ask them that make the biggest difference is, um, who are you marketing to? How have your campaigns gone in the past? What's your average cost per acquisition? How much are you willing to pay for a customer or a client? What are your conversion rates? So if you've launched this course before, what was your conversion rate on your webinar? What was your conversion rate on your sales calls? What was your funnel because I want to know, like, where are we starting from? Is it above average? Is it below average? Do they know what's average? And that helps give me a lot of information in the background to be able to kind of bring them up to speed on what I can do for them, what they can reasonably expect within what timeline, and how we will continue to work together to optimize after that. Because a lot of them don't realize that it's a process. And I'm not going to just hand over the copy and be like, bye. That's not how they're going to get the best results. It's not how I'm going to get the best results. The audience gets to decide what works. And until we put things in front of the audience, we can give our best guesses based on the research that we do. And I mean, we know how to get that, but sometimes the audience will surprise you. And so I'll have clients be like, well, we've tried this type of angle before and it's always worked. I was like, okay, but is that the only thing you've ever put in front of them? So it's a balance of listening, asking very strategic questions, and then helping kind of open their eyes to different ways that we can optimize and work together in partnership, but also, with the other, with their ads people, with their video people, and, just letting them know that, hey, I am totally willing to, become a part of the team here, where I'm used to communicating with your funnel people. I'm used to communicating with your website people. And all of that can be a cohesive experience for everyone because we're all working together to help you get to the same goals.
Love that. So for the last 9 minutes or so, I wanted to talk to you about a framework that I call prominence. And basically this framework is the framework that I take women in marketing who become experts. So at first, you're like very similar to the framework that you mentioned. You gotta make sure that you show your results. You have to really hone in your skill sets. Then you start kind of growing from there. You start building your sales engine. Start building your business. And then after that, once you have like a good, I put the mark around $10,000 to $20,000 a month. Once you get to that point, you have the ability to start actually allocating marketing budgets to your own business to start growing it. And prominence for me in this case for the online service provider that's in marketing is the ability to sell their intellectual properties, basically their own personal frameworks and things like that at scale. So like, digital products and things of that nature. When I look at your business, again, we've known each other for a very long time. I think that you're at that stage of like scaling your intellectual properties and, building a personal brand on top of your online service providing business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My complete focus right now is on scaling my coaching programs.
Yeah. But
Where my heart is.
are you still working clients to fund that, or are you now at the point where it's funding itself?
We are just on the cusp of that. Like, the balance is starting to shift, which is a really,
Yeah.
really fun thing to see. It's a
Really
tough
interesting.
shift to make emotionally because you're used to having this security blanket of
Yeah.
clients. And yet the time that goes into that takes away from your programs and your marketing for the things that really can take you to the next level.
Yeah.
There comes a point when it's too much and you
Yes.
have to dive in or settle for not growing anymore. And
Pick and choose.
I don't do that. Like, I am not content to stop growing when I know that the potential is there for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I want to talk a little bit about that because going back to the beginning of this call, I told you that I think that we have these really incorrect pieces of information to grow our business. Like, we have the lead magnet, the Facebook ads, all of these things. At the beginning, when you're first starting and you're wanting to generate 5-figure months in your online service provider business, I don't recommend that that's the way that you should go. There are other ways that you can generate 5 figures, high 5 figures months without having to do all of that. I'm also at that situation where it's and I admittedly, I like my money on the other side, on the big whale client side, and I love that money there, and then you have like I struggle with the content creation side of my personal brand, like creating the courses, the programs, the recordings, the that curriculum side of things. And so I have this. I'm not where you're at, where you're like, I'm gonna choose this and I'm gonna go with it, because I see I'm in the ooh, like I know that that's part of my calling to go that route, but I don't know if I'm there yet from a person, like from a like an emotional standpoint.
Sure.
um I think that it's important to recognize the level of work that is required to be where you and I are, and also where content creators are. Like I have a newfound respect for content
Mhm.
creators, right? Like the fact that you can create a course and like curriculum and worksheets and workbooks and the group coaching and all that stuff. You have anything to share about that, like the difference in terms of challenges and like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. So my business, when I went all in on sales copywriting, my business grew really fast. I went from like $6,000 months, left an agency position, and within 60 days, I was making 20K months. At that point, I realized that I was not going to be able to keep up with the demand and I needed to hire help. And I couldn't find a writer that I could afford at that point who could do and reproduce the results that I could. So that was 2019. I started creating trainings then and I never stopped. Like, I just love it. I love breaking down complicated concepts and making them repeatable over and over and over again. And so for the last, how many years is that? 4 years now. I've been building and building and building, and now I'm finally at the point where it's done. Like, and I've been having students go through it and have the social proof and everything, but now it's like I can look at these and say it's ready. Like, I am confident. Like you said, the confidence is a huge issue. Like, everything that needs to be in this to create XYZ result is there. And that's worth a lot to me, because if I feel uncertain about something and I'm not sure it's ready and this and that, yes, done is better than perfect, but I won't be able to stand up and market it at the level that I should if I feel like, I don't know, like something's missing. And so getting to that point was probably the biggest um, victory for me, was like knowing I 100% could stand behind this and I could put a monkey through this. And if they were willing to learn, they could get a result, maybe not like a person type result, but you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but it takes a shift. You have to put yourself through your own processes that you put your clients through, which
yeah.
is like eating your own dog food and not always that fun. Because you will
Yeah,
try to do it without doing that because you think,
yeah,
oh, I do this all day. And then you'll look at it and be like, it's not
yeah. I
working
mean,
because
like
I didn't put my own
for
self
me,
through my
that's
own processes.
yeah, that's what's happening to me. It's like my brain, it's such in a operational mode. Like, I get dragged into these companies and I have to like build systems and like marketing operations from the ground up, hire people and like go through the entire process. And then I have to like switch my brain to like, okay, well, how do I like, because it's not that I don't provide results or anything like that. It's not even about that. It's like, how do I grab all of the stuff that I have here and like put it into a different format that I'm not used to? And I think that that's kind of like where I struggle. I think I like the fact that you've been doing this for 4 years, like really like creating these trainings and this material for 4 years. I think it says a lot about not just the quality of the program that you currently have for the copywriters, but it also says a lot about you, because when in this call it almost like feels like you take a steady approach to things. Like, let
I
me,
do. I'm very measured.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's a good thing in a way because, we hear about the whole, launch it first and then create it,
Mm.
and stuff
Oh
like that.
no,
And
that stressed me out. I believe in it and that some people can do really well at it. It stressed me out. I'm a high S, like in the 90s as far as the disc profile. So all you have to do is give me something that works and I will operate on that till the
yeah,
day I die. And so
yeah.
it's hard to
That's
shift
such
me
a
into trying
huge
new
strength.
things.
Like, I'm envious of that because I am boom, 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 boom. Let's do it. Break things as we go. Which, to the point of, like, maybe there's a reason why you're not into cold outreach too, because that
Mhm.
also takes a certain level of, like, just kind of like throwing yourself out there and see if it works or not. Like, oh, boo boo, and nope, I got rejected, or nope, like, it's just doesn't work. Meanwhile, I'm very like, oh, let's go and see what happens. Oops, I got burned, but, like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
do it again, type of thing. And I am actually jealous of that in a good way, because patience is such an undervalued or underrated virtue that business owners should have more of, because,
I don't know if
like,
it's patience so much as just like I am impatient about it, but I can't go forward without the steadiness factor either. So I am
yeah.
impatiently steady, I guess I would say.
Well, I really, I commend you for that, because to have all this material created for 4 years, and then kind of like holding it there, holding it there, holding it there, and then release, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna do some really mighty things soon, hopefully. And um, I would love to kind of give you this time right now to tell us about, your program, invite my community over to your community, and, welcome them, and tell them a little bit about what you can offer them on that side.
Yeah, so my heart passion is helping moms like me, wordy, nerdy moms who love to write, make money at it. Okay, so like I told Emily, I was in a desperation situation where I needed to find a way to make money. And I didn't know what to do, but I knew I was a good writer. And so I thought, all right, let's just start looking around at what we can do. And I discovered freelance copywriting and it changed my life. I was able to keep homeschooling my kids. Now we pay for our kids' college tuition. We travel all over. It's just been for somebody who highly values freedom and likes to do what she wants to do and she wants to do it, charge her own rates, and that's important to me, and I know how important it is to a whole lot of other moms out there. So my life goal is to build an army of wordy mamas who are skilled copywriters who can have the freedom lifestyle they want without feeling like they have to sacrifice their family on the altar of finances. We've got to eat, right? We do what we got to do, and moms are really good at that. But what if we could do that while doing something that we love? So I do have a free Facebook community. It's called Wordy Mama for freelance copywriters. And we just talk all things like client acquisition, how to get started. It's just a lot of fun. I also have a free 5-day challenge called the Client Attraction Crash Course. That's where we dial in and get clear. Like I talked earlier in this call, it's a 7-day, day by day, we get clear on 7 things so that you can launch your freelance copywriting services in a week feeling confident about what you're offering and how to talk to clients and what you're going to charge. I do have 2 paid programs as well. The first one is Wordy Mama Copywriting Academy. This is a business in a box solution for the freelance copywriting mom. It's got every process, every template, every system I use to go from attracting clients, getting visible on social media, nurturing prospects, landing clients, and then serving them with excellence. So all my onboarding, all my discovery call, all my proposals, where there's a template or a portfolio building boot camp in there so that even if you've never landed a client before, we will get you through the process to learn how to create work samples based on information you can find for free online. And I love this program. It's so much fun. And then I also have a high level certification program. This is for moms who want to be skilled in sales copy. So direct response is the highest paid type of digital marketing copy out there. This is what I do and what I specialize in. And so I train moms who are ready to take it to the next level and get the kind of results that they can charge high ticket for. And so my certified mamas, they come out and they generate six figures in that 12 months that they're in the program. They have a six-figure business when they're done. It's happened to every single one that's gone through it. And so I love the certification program because it teaches exactly what you need to know to get sales results with your copy. And so, yeah, I'm just, yeah, like I said, I want to raise an army of wordy mamas so that they can have the freedom and the financial lifestyle that they want.
I love that. I love that. Well, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and put all the links in the podcast description for this episode. I'm also going to be sharing your links, Christa, as soon as we hop off this call. Please provide me with those links, and I'm going to share them everywhere. I want to bring in people that are highly vetted, that I know are going to do right by my audience. My goal is to build a community of women in marketing. And I think it's needed from the perspective of like really sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly without filters. Like, this is really what it looks like to have a marketing business. This community our mission is to not just build a community of women in marketing that are online entrepreneurs, but it's also a community where we connect the corporate side too. So we'll be bringing in women that are in marketing, but in the corporate side. And it's going to be really interesting to see kind of like the different sides
Yeah.
of this industry. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And anybody that's listening to this content, please make sure you follow her. Like I said, I'll put all the links in the descriptions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being so welcoming.
No worries.